Whether you're a student, a leader, a creator, or an entrepreneur, networking isn't optional. It's how businesses, careers, and lives literally change forever. But here's the problem. Most people treat networking like a chore, or even worse, as a transaction. We've all been there, standing around at a networking event, pretending to be on our phone, kind of hoping someone's gonna come talk to us, afraid to go approach somebody and start a conversation. Maybe for you, it wasn't a networking event. Maybe it's that email that you really wanted to send, or that DM you wanted to send, and you just kind of held back. You weren't sure what to say. You felt like you were gonna get rejected, and you just didn't do it. Well, that's all gonna change today. You see, the truth is, the most powerful opportunities in your life will come from the relationships you haven't built yet. That's why today I'm gonna show you how to build them the right way and how to network like the top 1%. So let's start with rule number 1, and that is accept the no. Rejection is part of the process. You'll send that message and not hear anything back. People will ignore you and they will forget your name. It's part of the game. But if you're like most people, that stings a lot. But here's the difference between most people and the top 1% of networkers. To them, no isn't the enemy. It's a filter. It helps you find out who's aligned and who isn't, at least for now. And here's the secret to that, and this is where I really figured that out. If you're okay with getting ignored or hearing no, you're more likely to take the big shots. Listen, I've networked enough in my life that I realize that the more no's I get, it just means I'm that much closer to hearing the yes. And I don't avoid the no, I accept the no, I anticipate the no. A, that takes away the sting a little bit, but B, it means I'm willing to take the big risk. For example, one of my students and I were having a conversation. She was a really big fan of Gary Vee. And I happened to have a friend that met him recently, and I was like, you know what? I can get his email address. Got his email address. I gave it to her, and I said, send the email. Now, most people in that situation would not have sent it. They would have been like, he's not going to respond. He's too busy. This is Gary Vaynerchuk. Why would he ever look at my email? I told her, go for it. Send it anyway. And guess what? He actually responded. And why? Because we were okay with the no. And that made us bold enough to actually try. Now, I don't say this so you can go Googling Gary's email and sending him random emails. Don't do that, unless you have like a real reason to reach out to him. I say this story because every no is just another rep in the gym of becoming the type of person that people want to say yes to. And if you reach out to somebody and they don't respond, you can actually try this little tip. Send a follow-up email saying, I totally understand that the timing might not be right, but if you know someone who might be a better fit, I'd be grateful for the intro. And here's the extra bonus idea. For every no response you get, I want you to reach out to 3 other people and shoot your shot with them. Because at the end of the day, networking is a game of numbers. Number 2, know what you want. I once asked somebody at an event what brought them there, and they just kind of shrugged their shoulders and were like, just seeing what's out there. And in my brain, I'm like, that's like going to the grocery store and just randomly grabbing items and hopefully you're buying the ingredients to make a lasagna. Like, it's not gonna work. You need clarity. And I want to share with you a tip on how to actually get it. You're going to start by drawing a triangle on a piece of paper. At the top of the triangle, I want you to put whatever your goal might be. Maybe it's getting hired for a specific job, or in my case, maybe it's landing a speaking gig. On the bottom left corner, I want you to list all the things that you're qualified for, the things you're capable of doing. What are your skills? What are you good at? What is the value that you bring? And on the right-hand corner, I want you to put what are the things that you need? What are you missing? I call this the curiosity clarity triangle. It helps you show up with purpose because now you're not just networking, you're connecting with intent. And this is backed by research because the more clarity you have, the more specific you can be with your goals, despite how challenging they may be, will actually lead to better outcomes. So instead of saying something like I want to meet people, which is very vague and open-ended, I want you to be more specific. Say something like this. I want to meet 3 product managers in EdTech who can give me feedback on my pitch. Or for me, I want to meet 3 people that work at corporations and do hiring for speakers that can help me land a lead. See, that's clarity, that's direction, and that's actually memorable. This one is probably the most important one. And it's probably the most difficult for us to understand because we have things that we want. But what you have to understand is networking is not about you. So what's rule 3? You gotta focus on them. And this is where most people mess up. They walk in thinking, hey, this is what I want. I want XYZ. I got clear. I know exactly what I'm after. I'm gonna go get it. But that's not what the top 1% do. You see, the top 1%, they walk in thinking, what's going on in this person's world and how can I understand it better? And I wanna be very clear here. This isn't about pretending to be curious. This is about genuine care, learning to value different perspectives. Because at the end of the day, people can feel it when you're faking it. Curiosity isn't a sales tactic. it's energy. And I promise you, when you genuinely learn to be more curious about other people, the results are going to be tremendous. Instead of asking somebody what do they do, ask them what do they love about what they do. Or if you're talking about what they do or what career they work in or what company they work for, ask them something a little bit deeper. Something like, what's something people don't see from the outside about this? It's a really interesting question, and it's also to give you valuable perspective. But you're not trying to extract value. You're trying to understand somebody. And that's how magicians think too. We think about the audience's reaction and their thoughts about something before the moment ever even happened. We design for what they might be confused about or skeptical about or even hoping for. And when you bring that type of thinking to a conversation, you become magnetic. And if you're asking yourself, how do I really tap into genuine curiosity? Well, that's a topic for another video. Stay tuned for that one. But understand this, curiosity is an on switch. It isn't something you're born with or without. It's something you learn to turn on. And when you're genuinely curious, you stop networking to get. You start networking to connect and to learn. And I've used this mindset to get Gary Vee to come speak at my school, to land myself in a magazine, to work on pilots for TV shows, to be featured on TV shows. All of this comes from this curiosity mindset. And none of this happened because I had this great pitch about myself. It's actually happened because I got curious about what really mattered to them. I built genuine connections and asked questions about what they needed. Curiosity just shifts the energy. It opens doors. And these principles don't just work when you're meeting somebody in person, but they also work in the DMs and cold emails on LinkedIn and hallway conversations. And there's a reason why we have elevator pitches, is because you'll meet people in the elevator. Clarity, curiosity, and connection. That's what separates the amateurs from the artist. You're sitting here thinking to yourself, well, what do I actually say? Well, that's the topic in the next video. I'll be breaking down exactly what to say at a networking event, the phrases, the mindset, the psychology of how to start conversations that lead somewhere. So hit that subscribe button and I'll see you all in the next episode.